You don't know him. Speaking of hypocrisy and cruelty, he is not inferior to my father, Emperor Yongle. Speaking of cunning and hypocrisy, he surpassed my eldest brother. Such person. The scheming is too heavy, too murderous. So lucky. And all three of those things captured the secret. He won't live long. Yes, take this.
Fighting for so many years. In the end, second uncle understands me, but he never figured it out until he died. Where did I lose? He thought the reason why he couldn't ascend to the throne. It's because I'm hypocritical and cunning and have taken over the secrets. Looking back at the years of our uncle and nephew's struggle, anyone would doubt. Did second uncle really fall into my hands? I used to be very confused. Since Grandpa liked second uncle so much, why did you still make my father the crown prince? Is it because I was born with the halo of worthy grandson of dreams? But this reason is completely untenable because besides me, Grandpa has 22 grandchildren. Any one of them, it is possible to become a good grandson of Grandpa. Take Zhu Zhanji, the second son of second uncle, for example. His military strategy is on par with mine. Grandpa even made second uncle the crown prince. Later, the Ming Dynasty was passed to my cousin. It can also be prosperous for 3 generations. Until later, I also encountered the same problem. I just understood the deep meaning behind Grandpa's words. Grandpa was willful and rebellious all his life. In the end, I still couldn't cross the path of becoming the legitimate son, not at the threshold of virtue. Grandfather rebelled in order to seize the throne. Nature can ignore the constraints of those rules and regulations. Once the person sits firmly on this throne, one will understand that emperors cannot rely solely on one person's likes and dislikes. It breaks the rules that ensure the long-term stability of the country. My father is obese, but not likable. But his identity as the eldest son is immutable. If grandfather abolishes the eldest and establishes the youngest, it is difficult to guarantee that our descendants will follow suit. If this causes the same room to fight, the country will be overturned. I'm afraid the historian will blacken Grandpa again. So, from the moment Grandpa ascended the throne, Uncle Law is destined to miss the throne. But during the Jingnan campaign, Grandpa, with his inherent prejudice, Uncle Ug's unnecessary thoughts have already been planted. The prince is sickly. You should encourage him. Seemingly short 9 words. But it implies a great deal of power. Not only did it harm my father, it also encouraged Uncle, the ambitious one that replaced it. Yongle, 2 years. When my father was made crown prince, Uncle was full of anger. How could Grandpa not know? For the sake of the stability of the country, Grandpa had to grit his teeth and refuse to admit it. Grandpa understands second uncle's temper. When he was alive, he could still suppress his second uncle. But what about his passing? How can Uncle Ugg give up easily? In order to prevent Uncle from taking risks, Grandpa laid out the layout on me from the beginning. And looking closely at my experiences in the first half of my life, actually, it's Grandpa's backup plan to guard against second uncle. When I was just 6 years old, Grandpa brought me to live in the palace. Remember that time? My father often reminds me I must follow the rules in the palace. Never make Grandpa angry. Because of the hope of our whole family, it's all pinned on me. After that, in the palace, I no longer have the playfulness of the past. The first 3 years of living in the palace, Grandpa is busy with government affairs. There are few opportunities to personally train me. So my grandmother took care of me for the past 3 years. Grandmother Sue is virtuous and intelligent, knowledgeable. Under her earnest guidance, I have developed a humble and polite personality since I was young. His demeanor and speech are as solemn as his grandmother's. Every time Grandpa goes to court, he always finds time to accompany me and my grandmother, seeing the growing heroism between my eyebrows. Grandpa is very satisfied. Grandpa often said to Grandma, he must surpass Emperor Taizu. Raised me to be a Zhu Zhanji, who is 100 times stronger than Jian Wen. I think the reason why Grandpa keep me in the palace, it's because they're afraid I'll become like my dad, neither heroic, also not tough. If you are looked down upon in your demeanor and image, how can it attract the attention of civil and military officials in the future? So, I wasn't born the kind of person my grandfather liked. But, Grandpa raised me to be the person he likes. Whenever the ministers in the court praise me for my extraordinary bravery, Grandpa's always straight face, always smiles. Slowly, I have a good reputation as a saint. It gradually spread inside and outside the court. At that time, I didn't understand. Why does Grandpa attach so much importance to cultivating my image? Later I found out. The so-called image is the noble appearance. Nobility is the foundation of prestige, but rather, my prestige as the wise grandson of Ming has deeply rooted in people's hearts. This is the first step in Grandpa's layout. Second, Uncle often calls himself Li Shimin. Everyone knows that second uncle is more heroic than my father. Now, Grandpa has a good grandson like me. People will naturally change their inherent ideas. This can not only strike at Uncle Ug's arrogance, it can also make second uncle worry about some public opinion. If second uncle can behave himself in the future, then forget it. If he has ulterior motives, rise up and rebel. Without the support of the hearts of the world, how can he succeed? Yongle, 5 years. Grandmother passed away. The days of national mourning. Grandpa has aged a lot. Without the care of my grandmother, I thought my grandfather would send me back to the prince's mansion. Unexpectedly, Grandpa took me to his bedroom. In subsequent years, Grandpa started teaching me how to handle government affairs. At that time, I was only 9 years old, although I have a vague understanding of many things. But fortunately, Grandpa passed on his years of accumulated experience, so I can handle memorials quite well. One late night, Grandpa asked me a question. He asked me how emperors, throughout history, stabilized the political situation. I never thought so deeply. History books say Tang, Zhang, Songzhu all rely on benevolent governance to make the world return to its heart. But Grandpa doesn't think so. Grandpa said to me, Temp Song Song Soon and he are the same kind of people. All I do is steal the country. Xi Renjing is just an illusion. Learning to scheme is the key to maintaining a stable position. Those despicable tricks. Although I cannot enter the Hall of Elegance, but critical moments often have miraculous effects. Grandpa also told me, as emperor, can despise conspiracy, but we must understand the mystery behind it. Because the emperor has to face, it is the hearts of those who cannot be seen through in the court. Grandpa's words, I didn't fully understand at the time. Until later, my grandfather found me a strange person to be my husband. I just understood what my grandfather was alluding to. That is an old monk who always wears a black robe. Grandpa never calls him by his first name. He is always respectfully addressed as young master on weekdays. I can tell. Grandpa respects and fears this old monk. Later I found out. This old monk's surname is Yao. Grandpa told me he was able to ascend to the throne. It's all thanks to this old monk's advice. Grandpa once advised him to grow hair and retire, and promised him high office and generous salary, but they were all rejected by the old monk, and this old monk is strange. But it's good for me. He said, my dad was also his student. This has doubled my fondness for him. Get along with this old monk. I found him knowledgeable, proficient in strategic, particularly adept at reading people every time I frown. He can always guess what I'm thinking. It was also under the guidance of the old monk. I gradually learned to play games with people. Gradually, there was a scheming in the chest. I used to be very afraid of second uncle, but ever since this old monk taught me how to distinguish people's hearts, I just gained a new understanding of my second uncle. Uncle Ah seems shrewd and decisive, but in fact, he is just a brave and reckless brute. Any thoughts in mine will be overjoyed. These people are the easiest to manipulate. No wonder Emperor Taizu hated second uncle back then. I'm afraid it was then. Taizu saw the ambition on second uncle's face. Once, Grandpa asked my father and second uncle to go to Zhaoling Mausoleum to worship. My father is obese, walking with a limp. Even if the eunuch supports, still keeps slipping. Uncle actually made sarcastic remarks in public. My dad is gentle. No return. The ministers were hindered by Uncle Ug's tyranny. No one dares to speak up for my father. I know this is Uncle wanting my dad to be dignified, to elevate his noble heir. But I can't stand second uncle's intentions, so I confronted my second uncle on the spot. Uncle saw me at such a young age, fearless, speechless for a moment, shocked beyond measure. Confronting Uncle Ah, sooner or later everyone will know. I thought Grandpa would make me think behind closed doors. Unexpectedly, Grandpa didn't say anything. From then on, I understood. Grandpa tacitly approved of the struggle between me and my second uncle. I want to understand human nature, learn to play games with the enemy. This is the second step that Grandpa took in advance like that. Even if second uncle were to rebel after grandfather's passing, I can also have the ability to play games with him alone. And Grandpa arranged it like this. No matter how I look at it, it feels familiar. Later, I finally understood. Jianwen just ate the loss of not knowing how to play games, just lost to Grandpa, this fourth uncle. Under my grandfather's many years of cultivation, I gradually became a threat to my second uncle. Seeing my father's position becoming more stable, Uncle Ah stepped up his framing of my father. The most memorable thing for me is the death of Zijin. Zishushi as early as the Hongwu period. He is a famous genius. Although he is arrogant, but full of economy. Also, thanks to Master Z, my father finally became the crown prince as he wished. So Uncle Og's hatred towards him can be imagined. Grandpa once thought about preserving Master Z, intentionally belittling him and leaving Beijing to avoid disaster. But even so, Uncle Ah still wouldn't let him go. Under the trap of second uncle, Zishushi suffered injustice. Finally, he was frozen to death in the ice and snow. After Mr. Z's death, Uncle framed my father again for forming cliques for personal gain, and my dad only knows how to accept it. As a result, many officials of the Eastern Palace were implicated. All the civil and military officials in the court saw this. They all distanced themselves from the prince's mansion, lost the support of officials. I really can't see what my dad's chances are. I was very angry at one point. Uncle has already killed our family. But my dad is so soft that he has no hard bones in his body. Until later, my father told me the truth. I just realized that we were all deceived by my dad. Grandpa is suspicious. If my father gets too close to the ministers, the balance between the court will be disrupted. My dad can only retreat to advance. Only then can Grandpa let down his guard. The power of the court rises and falls. Grandpa will turn his head to deal with second uncle. It seems that my father has suffered all the insults. But as long as I'm okay, he always stood undefeated. So don't be fooled by Uncle Ah's temporary victory. Only those who plan the overall situation can win a lifetime. It turns out that my dad's strategy is correct. 9 years of Yongle, my grandfather made me his grandson when I was 13 years old. This means that my father's position as crown prince is more secure. I don't think Uncle Luck can figure it out. Clearly, he has the upper hand. Why did my dad become the biggest winner? How does he know? His real opponent is not just my father, including me and my grandfather. Uncle is actually playing mind games with 3 close relatives, and he is a big, rough man. How can I defeat 3 smiling tigers? Maybe Uncle Us really anxious. He actually started to build weapons privately, raising dead soldiers. But he forgot. The Jinue under Grandpa's command are not vegetarian. His every move, Grandpa knows it, like the back of his hand. I have seen it with my own eyes. Intelligence from the Han Palace was handed a fief to Grandpa's desk. Maybe 2nd uncle feel guilty. Grandpa knew that 2nd uncle had ulterior motives, but I can't bear to sacrifice my family for righteousness. So, my safety became my grandfather's biggest concern. To ensure my safety. From the day he was conferred the title of Tayson, Grandpa always takes me with him wherever he goes. Perhaps realizing that Uncle came from a military background, there are many old friends in the army, and I have never been involved in the military. So, just in case. Grandpa took the 3rd step of prevention. When I was 16 years old, Grandpa formed a small army for me. Unlike other troops, this unit was personally selected by my grandfather for me. The selected soldiers are about the same age as me. They are all brave and resourceful people between the ages of 17 and 20. The Minister of War once revealed to me, Grandpa broke the ancestral tradition for me. According to regulations, the Tayson Pro Army should be around 6,000 people, but Grandpa chose 30,000 people. It has expanded by more than 5 times. I used to calculate. If Uncle Two's 3 Davids are all full, just over 15,000 people. But my troops are twice as many as his. The art of war says that 10 will surround it. 5 is to attack. Twice the enemy, then try to disperse the attack. I once doubted. Grandpa arranged it like this. It was planned long ago. Grandpa is most worried that we will fight like him, brothers, taking up arms against each other, with no end in sight. My 2nd uncle and I have arranged our troops in this way, just in case 2nd uncle attacks me in the future. It can also prevent me from attacking 2nd uncle. No wonder my dad always says, Grandpa is the most unfathomable person in the world. This arrangement is indeed sophisticated. In order to cultivate my ability to deploy troops, Grandpa ordered me to train myself. There are 30,000 people. I dare not slack off. Only this unit has formed combat effectiveness. Only then can they truly become my confidence to compete with my 2nd uncle. 12th year of Yongle. Grandpa is determined to personally conquer Walla. In the past, my grandfather always had me stationed in Beijing. But this expedition, it's rare to have me accompany you. Grandpa once said, to hold on to this kingdom, can't just understand the classics in history. Otherwise, you will become a fish, like Jianwen, at the mercy of others and looking at the saints who have been immortalized in history books. Which one is not a versatile talent, with both civil and military skills? I'm glad Grandpa gave me this opportunity. First, you can see the real battlefield. Secondly, you can also try the true level of my leadership. But what surprises me is, it is this expedition. It almost made me die on the Mongolian grassland. For my safety, every battle. Grandpa only let me observe from a distance. I am not allowed to personally participate in the war. At that time, I was only 16 years old. It is the age when a newborn calf is not afraid of tigers. Young and energetic child. How can we hold back that eager heart? When the Walla cavalry was beaten and fled by their grandfather, under the instigation of eunuch Li Qian, I actually led 800 guards around me to chase after the enemy. I originally thought that as long as I returned victorious, I could please my grandfather. But who knew that the Walla cavalry saw me with few people? Surprisingly, he turned around and surrounded me at Zhuangku. Fortunately, the soldiers risked their lives to protect. I just waited for my grandfather's reinforcements. After this battle, I am both discouraged and fortunate. Discouraged is losing soldiers in the first battle. Return in defeat. And fortunately, this battle made me realize my shortcomings. Talking on paper is not the way to win. Only real swords and guns can be refined into steel. After that, my grandfather would take me with him every time he went to war. After years of honing, I slowly developed leadership abilities as powerful as my grandfather's, and established prestige in the army by leading by example. Only in this way can we make up for the gap with second uncle. I once thought, if it weren't for Grandpa's watertight layout during his lifetime, on the day when second uncle rebelled, do I have the capital to fight against it? I think the ending should be similar to the Battle of Jingnan. And my fate may be even worse than Jianwen, forever. 14 years. Seeing that there are few advantages left, Uncle Ob jumped over the wall in a hurry. Want to launch a coup. The scene that Grandpa least wanted to see happened. In order to prevent second uncle from making a big mistake, Grandpa closed the net before he started. My dad and I can tell, Grandpa doesn't want to bear the name of killing his son. My father can only go with the flow and plead for my second uncle. Grandpa waited, reduced Uncle O's guard. The following year, he was demoted to Leon and became a vassal. Leon, isn't it also? Grandpa warning, second uncle, want him to live happily. Uncle is not dead. Let me down a bit. With Uncle Og's temper, he will never give up. But as long as he stays away from the center of power, I can free up time to grow as soon as possible. By then, even if second uncle follows Grandpa's example and starts another Jingnan rebellion, I will also be a qualified opponent. In the coming years, save for third uncle's restlessness in the capital, no member of the royal family can pose a threat to me. And all of this is thanks to Grandpa's layout. August 22nd, Yongle. It is a month that I will never forget in my life. Grandpa was fighting outside the customs at that time. My father actually met with the ministers privately at the prince's mansion. I was very surprised. My dad never breaks the rules. Now, make an exception. I'm afraid something big will happen. It turned out that Yang Rong, a military staff officer, sent someone to report Grandpa passed away on the way. To avoid accidents, he was determined not to mourn, because my father has to preside over the overall situation in Beijing. So he ordered me to go to Yumu River to pick up the spiritual driver. I was raised by my grandfather. On the way to Yumu River, except for being upset, I didn't feel any sadness until my father successfully ascended the throne. After the first became the crown prince, the sadness that arises after the death of a loved one. I once asked myself, I love my grandfather more, love power more. I think it should be power. Otherwise, how could the sadness of Grandpa's passing be late during the state funeral? There are many suspicious people in the capital. Father and I know that this is a spy sent by second uncle. I once advised father to take the opportunity to send troops to pacify second uncle, but not only did my father not listen to me, surprisingly, he rewarded Uncle Uck. I don't understand. Father has become the emperor. Why pretend to be so submissive? I'm afraid I'm very brave. Father drove me to Nanjing. In name, it is for me to take the lead in moving the capital. Actually, it's asking me to go to Nanjing to cultivate my mind and temperament. Those days in Nanjing, I read the Jianan tax records prepared by my father for me. Only then did I understand father's difficulties. Grandpa's 5 expeditions to the Mobe, although I once reached Longju Mountain. But it also wiped out Daming's family fortune. These years, taxes in Jiangnan are heavy. The people are already overwhelmed. If I take the initiative to raise my sword again, we'll definitely lose the hearts of the people. By then, if it stirs up uprisings in various places, doesn't Uncle Ah have a legitimate excuse to rebel? After understanding the true national strength, I just realized how difficult it has been for my father these years. I wanted to confess to my father in person. Unexpectedly, I received the bad news of my father's death. When you receive the message, my heart is broken. I hate that I didn't get to see my father for the last time when returning to Beijing, because the official road is too close to Uncle Ug's fiefdom to avoid accidents midway. The ministers all advised me to return to the capital with the army. If it can be delayed, it will change. So I only brought a few confidants. Originally, a half-month journey, I only took 7 days. Later, second uncle was captured. I just found out. He did send someone to ambush me on my way back to Beijing. Uncle Ug didn't expect me to move so quickly. Perhaps it is the spirit of Grandpa and Father in heaven. Only then did I get through this ordeal safely. After ascending the throne, I have inherited the great policies of my father's life. Light taxes internally. Rest and recuperate. Stop fighting outside. Contraction margin. Uncle also sent someone to Beijing to test my intentions. In order to stabilize second uncle, all his requests, I agree to everything. It's not that I'm afraid of him, because I no longer value my second uncle. But if I want to touch him, you have to let him jump out on his own. When the subjects of the world see his ambition clearly, only then can I become famous. Soon, Uncle Ah took action. He once secretly made an appointment with the ministers in the court to cooperate inside and outside, under the years of operation of the two former emperors. Nowadays, civil and military officials will not listen to him. Soon, Uncle Ug's counterattack was all in front of me. I wrote a letter to my second uncle for the last chance. But he doesn't know how to cherish it when he imitated his grandfather and raised the banner of Jingnan. It is the day I close the net. Uncle Lun never thought of it. I will personally lead the expedition this time. I want him to know I am not Jianwen, and he's not a grandfather either. I thought second uncle would resist for a while. I didn't expect it to only be a few days. Uncle Ah slipped out of the city and surrendered. Pacify the rebellion of the King of Han. I almost won without fighting. It's not that second uncle is strong on the outside, but weak on the inside. It's not that I'm that great, but the two former emperors just laid the foundation for suppressing rebellion for me. At first, I didn't want to kill second uncle. As long as his whole family stays at home, I can give him a way out and ensure that he lives a life of luxury. Originally thought that 3 years could dilute everything. Uncle K never took me seriously until he died. I went to see him with good intentions. He deliberately tripped me to the ground. If you don't kill him, where is my authority? I have no way. I had to roast my second uncle to death inside the clock. To prevent future troubles, I also killed 9 sons of my second uncle. I am not a person who loves to kill. Uncle Ah's whole family can have the current ending. It's all his own fault, unrepentant. No wonder I am heartless. I know that second uncle has told people more than once. He said he had the opportunity to become an emperor in his lifetime. Unfortunately, it fell into my hands. I laughed at my second uncle until he died without realizing it. The reason why he failed to sit on the throne. Actually, as early as when my grandfather made my father the crown prince, it was already doomed. Looking back at my experience of competing with my second uncle, rather than saying that second uncle fell into my hands, it's better to say that he actually fell into his grandfather's hands. The sun, moon, mountains, and rivers are still there. Don't cry. Take your time.